Board acknowledges that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships, both historic and modern, with the territories upon which our school board and schools are located. Today, this area is home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island, North America. We acknowledge that the Durham region forms part of the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, the Mississauga peoples, and the treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation. It is on these ancestral and treaty lands that we teach, learn, and live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and we are super excited to welcome you to our session tonight for taking care of the mind and soul during COVID with Miriam Abdul Salam. Miriam is a registered nurse with a background in emergency medicine. She is a Durham resident and a parent of 4 children ranging from the ages of 13 to 30. She is currently an intake assessor at the College of Nurses of Ontario, assessing new nurses with health conditions or matters of conduct or character. At this time, I would like to welcome Miriam. So we're going to begin with Miriam right now, very shortly. We're just getting some technical stuff set up. We are super, super excited and very excited to hear about all of the different tips that Miriam will be sharing with us. We will be posting some links as well in our chat, so make sure you look out for those. And if you need to, grab a pen, grab a paper, a notepad, so you can take some of these tips down if that helps you as well. And feel free, again, to email us any questions or post them in the chat, and we will do our best to answer them throughout or at the end of the session. So at this time, I'm going to now pass it along to Miriam.
Thank you, Samaya, for the warm welcome, and good evening, everybody. And I welcome you to tonight's session on caring for the mind and soul during COVID-19. Next slide, please. I'm just going to ask if you could go on your if you're on your computer or if you have your smartphone close by, if you could put in this link to slido.com. We are going to have an interactive session so that I'm not doing all the talking tonight. Or if you'd like to wait just a few minutes, we'll have a QRS code that you can just use your smartphone to pick up the link to our interactive session. So let's move on. So it's hard to believe that it's been almost 7 months since Ontario declared a pandemic. And as a population, this is probably the most traumatic event we will experience in our lifetime. And as individuals, we'll naturally respond to that trauma, both consciously and subconsciously. Today, I'm hoping to focus on you as caregivers and the importance of maintaining a healthy mind and soul. And I'm hoping to explore some strategies with you to find balance during these unprecedented times. We know that true health requires a balance of activity focused on the body, the mind, and spirit. And since most of us are aware of what we need to keep our bodies healthy, I'm not going to focus too much on that tonight. But I do want to mention before moving on that if you're looking for any additional resources for your children or your family, the Durham District School Board website actually has an amazing collection of information on this topic. And I would advise that if you want to delve into this a little bit deeper, it's a great starting point on this topic. Next slide, please. So the COVID-19 outbreak has demonstrated that we have been affected physically, mentally, and spiritually. And we have all heard and continue to hear what the importance is of washing our hands, maintaining physical distancing, self-isolation, and testing when we need to be. Our follow through on all of these actions demonstrate our physical conscious response to the fight against COVID. This is often the easiest response for all of us to rationalize and to understand. However, for many of us, we've experienced a change in our sleep cycles, our eating patterns, even a general haze of clouding our thinking that may be affecting how we are interacting with those around us. You may find that you're having to check your emotional reactions to different situations that maybe in the past you would have not have been an issue and you wouldn't have wondered what was wrong with you. Tempers are shorter, patience is harder to find, and there's a general sense of stress that makes you feel somewhat uneasy. This is our mental capacity being put to the test, and it's often hard to put your finger on why this is happening to you, when maybe in the past you've been resilient and able to persevere. Furthermore, you might find as more and more time passes with more questions and less answers that you're starting to question your purpose, your ability to continue in this state of uncertainty. Unfortunately, with the closeness that COVID's brought death to us, we may find ourselves even in an uncomfortable position, thinking about things that we have purposefully tried not to think about. The good news is you're not alone. We will all experience varying levels of spiritual and mental responses as a result of the pandemic, especially that we do not for sure know what the timelines are looking like or the magnitude of this pandemic. What we do know, however, is that we need to stay healthy, and an effective mental response will require positivity and perseverance to help with stress management, and the spiritual response will require focusing on purpose and meaning. A healthy body will keep you well and active, and a healthy mind will keep you focused and engaged, and a healthy soul will keep you fulfilled and content. Next slide, please. So I'm going to take this back. Okay. So, sorry, I'm just going to switch that again. Sorry about that. Just a little technical difficulty here. Got too many. Okay, there we go. Only if things were just smooth the way they should be, right? All right, here we go. So can you see a blue screen?
No, sorry, we don't see a blue screen.
No, blue screen, okay. So let's see. We'll try that one more time, sorry. Here we go. Okay. So for this part of the presentation, I'm hoping that you can either click into slido.com and it's going to ask you for an event code and you can type in that number right there, or with your smartphones, you can just put up your camera to that QRS code and it will automatically take you to our link. So I'll give you guys a minute or two to get in there. And the first question is, describe your current situation. And before we move on, I just want to remind everybody that this is 100% anonymous. There is absolutely no information that's being received on our end. And the intent of this is really just for all of us to get a sense of where we're at, because I think a lot of us are holding on and doing a lot more things than we sometimes like to admit. And this is a good way to take a look at that. Wow. Okay, whoops. What happened here? Sorry. Not sure what you guys can see, but I just had something happen on my screen, so I'm just trying to fix that. Sorry about that. Okay, so it looks like we have a lot of kids in school, which is interesting. I thought we'd see a bit more kids virtually. And lots of kids at home, and a huge number of us working from home, me included, and elderly parents on top of all of that. Good to see that we're not dealing with, employment issues on top of that, but I'm sure, as you can imagine, there's a lot of people that are also dealing with that on top of everything else. So all of these obviously are stressors, and stressors that we may not have been dealing with in pre-COVID. And so now we're sort of trying to figure out how to put this all together and make it work. So I will stop sharing for now. And I got that back, and I'm just gonna go back to my window here. Okay. So if we can just go to the next slide from here. Or are we there? I think I'm not, sorry. Yeah, perfect, thank you. So like I was saying before, everyone's gonna react differently to stressful situations. However, it will not be uncommon to find yourself dealing with feelings of grief or fear or stress. And the pandemic has likely brought many changes to how you're living your life. And with uncertainty and altered daily routines and even financial pressures or social isolation, which is huge, you probably think about getting sick or how long this pandemic is even going to last, or even whether you'll lose your job and what the future is going to look like. Information overload, rumors, and misinformation can also make your life feel like it's out of control and makes it unclear on what you should do. It's important to take the time to acknowledge your feelings and how you're reacting and how it's affecting you. And knowing that you're not alone helps to rationalize the thoughts and the feelings and helps determine the best course of action. Of course, you don't have to feel that you are coping or the sensation is consistently overwhelming. Then it's really important that you take that time and go talk to your healthcare provider, because you just might need some further assessment. So if we could just go to the next slide. Thank you. So it's also important to remember that you're not alone experiencing these feelings at any given point in this global crisis. I think you're going to see a repetition and you're repeating that over and over again. Spirituality can sometimes be confused with the idea of religious, but here I want to emphasize your ability to have more control over your own existence, intentionally creating a deeper self-awareness that can bring you closer to yourself rather than trying to run away from yourself. This is an opportunity to work on improving the state of your soul by acknowledging the feelings of the subconscious mind and calling it out, making it tangible and turning that around for you. Next slide, please. When we sense a crisis, our impulse is to panic and fear the worst and go into emergency mode. It becomes more difficult to rationalize reality and purpose. So what can we do to remain mentally and spiritually resilient? First, we can start by moderating our exposure to the news, including social media, and begin creating routines in our day-to-day lives. Next slide, please. What is self-care? Everybody has their own definition of what self-care means to them, but self-care is making mindful, purposeful change in your pattern of thoughts and behaviors that don't contribute to your well-being. Self-care is not selfish. Self-care is an ongoing practice in building resilience to face hardship and curb burnout. Self-care does not have to be time-consuming and should not become another source of stress. Self-care is a way for us to build up our mental capacity and spiritual strength with intention. Next slide. So back to our Slido. So I'm going to steal this back again here. And whoops, sorry. And I'm just going to the next one. Okay. All right, so let's take this. Yes, yes. All right. So now I want you to think of, and you can write as many as you want. So we're going to create a word cloud right now. And I want you to start writing out things that you do to take care of yourself. And be creative. Like that one. Somebody put read a book. Just didn't make it onto the slide, but we know it's there. I'd like to learn how to do that one. Go for a walk. That's a good one. Focusing on the positives. Take a bubble bath. Make sure you eat well. That's great. Take a nap. Spending time alone. These are all really fantastic. Garden. Breathing exercises. Can't see that one because of, right. Shopping. It looks like a lot of shoppers. These are all fantastic. Watch mindless TV. That's great. I need to learn how to do that. I'm not very good at that. Going plane spotting with my husband. I like that one. Go for a walk. Do some art. These are really good. Snacking. Make sure you eat well. These are really good. Netflix. I like that there's a lot of TV watchers here. I should learn how to do that. Maybe I need to start a list of all the things I need to watch. Play with your kids. That's good mind and soul building. Okay, so let's get back to this. I will stop sharing. Okay. All right. Oh, what is that? Hold on, I can't see the, all right, sorry about that. I couldn't see the Zoom. So if you recall earlier, we talked about the connection between body, mind, and spirit. And this connection, again, it becomes relevant as you begin to notice that the things we can do to help our state of mind likely also helps our physical self and our spiritual self. So becoming aware of how your body reacts or functions or even shuts down sometimes probably also means that you need to take the time to listen to your mind, and you'll probably find that you could be scared or occupied or even stressed. Once you begin to be in tune, you can find the strategies that will begin to work for you to counteract that state. So laughing, exercising, praying, finding something that makes you happy can all mobilize the body's endorphins or happy hormones. Next slide, please. And very similar to our last slide, truly looking inwards to discover what gives you a sense of purpose and meaning will help ground you and allow you to think more clearly. Focus on what really matters and focus on the here and now rather than the unknown. It helps make the unknown more bearable. As caregivers, you know that you're being pulled in many directions that are draining your own capacities. So in order to be available for your kids, for your family, even work, if that's something that you're finding you're getting lost in, you need to be able to be in tune with your own mental and spiritual deficits and put a manageable plan in place to help you gradually build that strength and begin to maintain that. Next slide, please. I'm not generally a fan of providing a list of things that you should do because I really believe that everybody's needs are unique and should be tailored to what's meaningful to them. But this slide is meant to provide examples of how small tasks or activities can go a long way to not only build up your mental and spiritual capacity, but also bring your kids into this and begin developing those healthy habits early on. I do want to acknowledge that it can sometimes feel awkward or even unnatural when you begin pursuing some of these activities, especially the ones that make you have to be true to yourself. For example, talking about your feelings or journaling, creating a vision board even, or even volunteering. But I can assure you, it does get better with time and with repetition. And similar to the experience of starting a new health routine or fasting, it takes some getting used to, but often we soon begin to feel better. Next slide, please. So I will steal this again. I think this is our last question. Oops. All right. I'd like you to put down at least one positive thing that has come out of this pandemic for you so far. Nothing? More time with the family? Time with the family without distractions? Spending time with the kids? And more spending time with the kids. How about something for you? Time outdoors? Time to appreciate nature? Family, going outside? More time outdoors, time to appreciate nature, slowing down, finishing your gardening, and much needed sleep, less commute time. I feel the same way. I've got better skin since COVID because I haven't been so stressed. Catch up on life's small messages. These are all really good. Organizing the house. I think that's good for the house, not unless you love to do that kind of thing. Slowing down, reading, family. This is all good. So we're all on the right track, it seems like. And it's really easy to focus on the things that are weighing us down. But I think when we stop to really reflect, we're likely going to find that this pandemic has brought some things to light that we probably didn't have time to think about before. And so those are the positives we want to start putting our eyes towards and start thinking about how do we now continue to grow those and make them better. So I'm going to stop sharing now. And okay. So our last slide, we've basically come to the end of our presentation. The last slide is actually a little breathing exercise video. It's very short, and I'm hoping that you will all participate in this exercise. And like I said before, if you're not used to doing these kinds of things, you might find it awkward in the sense that I don't feel anything, it's not doing anything for me. But sometimes it takes practice, and just doing it over and over again will begin to help you start to reflect and really pull yourself inwards and start to feel your body from top to bottom and really think about what the impact of that is on you. So let me see here. I think, Sumaya, did we say that I'm going to show the video? Sorry, I forgot what our decision was on that.
Yes, please.
Okay, perfect. So I will pull that up. Okay.
To stop, but becoming more aware of your own thoughts and feelings and what's around you, and accepting the present moment can help improve your mental health and well-being. Doing this affects both the mental and the physical you. Some people call this being more mindful. Focusing on the present means paying attention to your thoughts and feelings right here, right now. Breathing exercises are a great way to focus on the present and be more mindful. Doing this can also help when you're feeling stressed or anxious. This short video will take you through how to do a mindful breathing exercise. Firstly, settle into a natural, comfortable position. When you're ready, take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Breathe naturally, noticing the sensations of the breath entering and leaving the body as best you can. Allow your shoulders and neck to relax, focusing on your breathing, just being aware of it. Focus on how your body feels. What sensations do you notice? Do you feel your feet on the floor or the feeling of your clothes on your skin? Take this time to pay close attention to physical sensations, from the top of your head right down to your toes. Notice what you're thinking about right now and how you're feeling. Just take the time to notice your thoughts and feelings without judgment and without trying to change them. When you're ready, take one more breath and try to bring this awareness with you into the next moments of your day. Breathing techniques like this one can help to center you in the moment at any time and connect you with the present, which can help if you're feeling stressed or anxious.
Okay. So if there's anybody that has any questions, I'd be happy to take them. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.
Miriam, thank you so much. You've shared a wealth of knowledge and the importance of self-care and how self-care is not selfish. And I think that was a really, really important reminder, because a lot of times we forget that taking care of ourselves is and should be a priority, and we don't. So it's really important, the importance of building healthy habits, like you mentioned. And you shared some fantastic tips that we can all instill into our lives. Even changing one habit can have a positive difference or impact over time. One of the questions that we got was, can you give us one small thing that we can change or start doing at home that will help us build that positive impact or make that positive difference within our household?
So I think that one of the most important things that you can do is begin to really notice your own reaction to anything. I especially notice it with my kids, because you can sometimes have such a stressful day, and if you're working from home and people are coming and going, especially if you've got kids that are at home or whatever else, you might find that your level of response may not be as pleasant as you would like it to be throughout the day. And so I think if you start to understand what your triggers are, but also understand what your reaction is, and to start thinking, okay, I know that when I'm starting to escalate, this happens to me. I can step back and I can acknowledge that that is what's happening and deal with it in a more positive manner. So I think it takes it does take a lot of effort and it does take a lot of training, but it's one of those small things. It doesn't require any material. It doesn't require anything except me. I'm in control and I get to make that decision on how I'm going to react to that particular situation.
That's great advice. I definitely agree. I believe that when we learn to self-regulate, that will definitely help us react and make sure that the way we react will have a better consequence than, if we are triggered or if certain things do come up. That's a great reflection tool. Is there something that you can say, or would you say that making sure that we build habits of eating healthier will also help us when it comes to self-care, or is eating not as important as constant reflection?
So I think what really sort of resonated with me is the idea of self-care, focusing on the things that does not create well-being for us. Like, so we know what it takes to be healthy. We know what we need to eat. We know that we should be exercising. These are the things we know. But if we're strong on the outside, but not strong on the inside, it's really hard to have that balance. We need it all to work together. So I think that we have to stop and think, what are the habits that I'm doing that are hurting me, that I can make changes to, that can help me. So, for example, I sleep 15 hours a day out of the 24 hours a day. For whatever reason, am I making myself conscious to that idea? And can I do something to change that? Are my sleeping habits up and down? For sure. Eating will always be something that's very important for us, because yes, it is part of that balance, that equilibrium of body, mind, and spirit. But I think that us focusing a little bit more on what's harder to focus on, so that mind and that spirit, is really, really important. So the reflection, journaling, like journaling is something that I've recently gotten into during the pandemic, not something I've ever really done before. And I'm not so sure about this, like this doesn't sit right with me. But now I actually think about it. Not that I'm doing it regularly, but I'm doing it regularly enough that I notice how I'm feeling before and how I'm feeling after I'm journaling. And I'm very conscious of what I'm writing about. And then when I see it coming up again, I'm like, okay, why am I feeling that way? Why am I doing this? And so that helps to change your attitude, and it helps to change, the overall resilience that you start to have.
Yeah, I really like that idea of journaling, because then you can track patterns and go back and see, what you should change or what is happening. Because sometimes when it's in front of us over and over, we can kind of reflect and move on. One of the questions that came up was, what would your advice be to parents who are struggling with children who are turning inwards during this COVID-19 pandemic?
So I can totally understand that. I have a similar situation at home. And I think we have to be patient with our kids and realize that they are also going through a lot. And kids are way more resilient than we give them credit for. And I think we have to balance our reactions to how they are behaving. So I think at every opportunity that we have to talk to them about it, even though sometimes that can be hard, and pointing out those positives at every possible potential. So, I mean, I can tell you from, in my situation, the gaming, for example, is a huge issue for us, but it's taken up a lot of time. And I know for a lot of kids, this has been an issue. But at the same time, the fight that you're going to fight, you have to really think about that too. Is this a coping mechanism? Are they capable of taking themselves out of that? How are they reacting when you're pulling them out of that? Are they able to have social interactions? So I think it's really thinking about how they're reacting in different situations to be able to assess their overall differences. So if you're seeing a huge difference and you're really not able to pull them out, or their reactions are becoming a little more extreme, then maybe there is some necessity to get some further help and to maybe consider some follow-up with your healthcare provider. It's not, it's not something to shy away from. It's better to get them the help that they need. and deal with that before it's too late than to not deal with it at all.
Okay, and our last question that we have here is, how do you feel about toxic positivity? Do you think that this is a thing we need to be careful of?
So I think that, yes, I think it is something that we need to be aware of, but I think that the idea of being able to identify it also is a way of dealing with it. So being able to realize it and be able to think, okay, how am I going to respond to that, is also how we are going to change that around us.
Well, thank you so much. Again, we want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and giving us these great tips for self-care and helping us build healthy habits. Once again, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight on behalf of the Muslim Educators Network. We do have 2 sessions next week that will be taking place, and they will be our last sessions for the month. They will be taking place on Thursday as well, and there is a student session for STEM, which will be covering digital circuits and coding, as well as a parent session following the student session, and that is to help parents in using virtual tools for Google Classroom, D2L. We will be covering those, and digital etiquette. You can register for these sessions if you haven't had a chance yet at wearemen.ca. I believe that is on the screen, so make sure you check out wearemen.ca and register for that. Once again, I do want to thank everyone who took time out to attend. I want to thank our presenter, Miriam, for her knowledge. And I want to send out some special shout outs to our organizers who work tirelessly behind the scenes. First and foremost, our 2 leads for Islamic Heritage Month. I would like to thank Abir Stawani and Ashley Nabi, who have been working for the last 2 months putting these events together. And a special shout out tonight to Sumaya Malik, who is our behind the scenes tech crew while working along. We all know technology can be a little difficult, but they've been doing a fantastic job. Once again, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week, inshallah, once again on Thursday evening for our last sessions to close off Islamic Heritage Month. Thank you once again. Take care. Khudafis. Assalamu alaikum.